The desert stretched endlessly, flat and sunburnt, as the black SUV hummed along Route 90 westbound. Inside, 5 college friends, Zane, Monica, Riley, Jason, and Brooke, laughed over old stories and sipped warm sodas. It was their final summer together before life scattered them across the country. The plan was simple: a road trip from Texas to California, detouring through scenic routes, sleeping under stars, and making memories. They never planned for the lost road. It started at a gas station in a forgotten town called Edavane. The sun was low, painting the sky with bruised purple clouds. Zane had insisted they stop to fuel up, despite the car still being nearly half full. "I don't like driving below half," he said. "Paranoia from my dad." The others got out to stretch. The station looked abandoned. No music, no lights, just one ancient pump and a caged-up convenience store with a flickering "open" sign that buzzed more than glowed. Jason went inside. The bell above the door gave a weak ting. An old man stood behind the counter, unmoving, staring directly at him. His eyes were milky, pupils nearly invisible. Jason cleared his throat. Hey, just grabbing some snacks." No reply. As Jason reached for a bag of chips, the man said suddenly, "You kids headed west?" Jason nodded slowly. "You passed it already." "Past what?" "The turn. Road doesn't like when people miss it." Jason forced a chuckle. "Okay, thanks for the chips, man." But as he turned to leave, the man added, "If the radio starts hissing, pull over and don't look in the rear view." Jason didn't tell the others. He brushed it off as desert madness. They got back in the SUV and drove on. Zane set the GPS to shortcut through what Google Maps called Farm Road 1470, a thin gray line weaving across nothingness. According to the map, it would cut an hour off the trip. "Looks sketchy," Riley muttered. "We're already behind schedule," Monica argued. "If we can make up time, we should." They turned off the highway onto the narrow path. No signs, no lights, just the crunch of gravel beneath tires. That's when the radio hissed, not static. Something more like breathing. Jason's stomach dropped. "You okay?" Brooke asked, noticing his face. He nodded too quickly. "Just tired." The desert faded to dry forest, bony trees without leaves arching overhead like ribs. The road narrowed. Wind picked up. Dust curled around the SUV like fingers. Then they saw the first sign. White hand-painted letters on splintered wood. "No return past mile 9. They all laughed it off. "Creepy locals," Zane said, "trying to scare tourists." They passed mile 1. Then 2. At mile 3, the GPS glitched. It spun wildly before freezing. Mile 4, Brooke said she saw a person standing between trees. No one else saw it. Mile 5, Monica lost cell service. Everyone else had already lost theirs. At mile 6, Riley said he could hear whispering. Just faintly. Under the engine noise. "Turn around," he said. "No way," Zane replied. "We're already halfway through. Going back would take longer." Mile 7, the sun set far too fast. It was full light 1 minute, dusk the next. Then pitch black. Jason watched the mile markers, heart pounding. Mile 8. The SUV's engine sputtered, then caught, then sputtered again. "Keep going," Brooke shouted. "We're almost through." Zane's knuckles were white on the wheel. Finally, mile 9. The road bent. A second sign appeared. "You were warned." And the road split. Literally, like it had been torn open. Not collapsed. Ripped. A massive fissure swallowed the path, stretching far in both directions. Zane slammed the brakes. Tires screeched. Everyone jerked forward. They sat in silence. No words. Then Riley whispered, "We have to go back." Zane threw the SUV into reverse, tires spitting gravel. They passed mile 8, then 7, then 6. But the trees looked wrong now. Closer, bent inward like they were watching. At mile 5, they saw it. A car, parked sideways on the road, lights off, no one inside, and something written in blood on the hood. You can't leave. They stared at the message on the hood. You can't leave. The blood looked fresh. Zane tried to go around the abandoned car, but the road was too narrow. Trees on either side pressed inward like jaws ready to snap shut. I'll move it, Jason said, his voice barely steady. No, Monica grabbed his arm. What if it's a trap? Jason looked around. There was no wind, no sound, just silence. The kind that presses on your ears like deep water. I'm not sitting here all night, Zane muttered and opened his door. As he approached the car, Brooke noticed something in the passenger seat of their SUV. A shape. Wait, she whispered. Is someone in our back seat? Everyone turned at once. Nothing. Empty. Zane pushed the car. It didn't move. He looked into the driver's window. There was no steering wheel, no seats, just black. An endless void stretching deep into the vehicle. He stumbled back. Jason ran forward and grabbed his arm. What's wrong? Zane looked pale. It's not a car. It's not real. And that's when it moved. The car twitched, just a little, like a living thing stretching muscle beneath flesh. Riley screamed, Get in! Go! They all piled in, Zane gunning the engine. He drove straight, off the road, through the underbrush. Branches tore at the paint. Something smashed a window, but they got past it, back on the gravel road. Mile 4. Then 3. Suddenly, the road ended, right where they started. The gas station from before sat in front of them, dark and lifeless. But something was different. The lights were on inside the store, flickering, unsteady, and the old man was standing in the doorway, arms at his sides, staring straight at them. Jason opened the door. No, Monica warned, but he stepped out. Jason walked toward the man, heart pounding. What is that place? He asked. Why can't we leave? The old man didn't blink. You went down the wrong road. We just need to get out. The man pointed. You want to escape, burn it. What? The map. What map? But the old man was gone, like he was never there. Jason ran back to the SUV. Do we have a map? No one uses maps anymore, Zane said. We use GPS. Brooke checked the glove box. Inside, a folded piece of yellowed paper, a road map. Hand-drawn, it showed their path. Route 90, the gas station, and Farm Road 1470, a red X at mile 9. In the corner, tiny scribbled words, Only fire breaks the path. Without hesitation, they grabbed their lighters and snacks soaked in gasoline from the emergency kit. Zane lit the edge. The map curled, blackened, and then burst into flame. Suddenly, the sky above them shifted, like someone had pulled a curtain away. Stars flickered violently. The wind howled, the earth groaned, and when the fire died, they were gone. Back on the highway, real highway. Route 90, other cars zoomed past. It was daylight. They pulled over, got out, and collapsed onto the warm asphalt, laughing, crying. Jason looked behind them. No sign of the road, no trees, no gas station, just open desert. I never want to see a dirt road again, Riley muttered. They got back in and drove away. But in the rearview mirror, the gas station flickered back into view. The man was there, still staring, waiting. They drove in silence, no music, no jokes, just the steady hum of tires on pavement and the haunting weight of what they'd experienced. None of them wanted to talk about it, afraid that acknowledging it would make it real again. But the nightmare wasn't over. Around dusk, Riley noticed the gas gauge drop, fast, from half full to empty in a blink. What the hell, he said. Zane cursed. That's impossible. They pulled into the next station. This one looked normal. Busy, bright lights, people moving inside. Relieved, they climbed out. Jason headed inside to pay. But the woman at the counter stared at him strangely. "Did you come off Farm Road 1470? He froze. "How do you know that?" She tapped her temple. "People who escape that road, you can see it in their eyes. The emptiness, the echo." Jason's mouth went dry. "What is that place?" She shook her head slowly. "It's not a place, it's a loop, a test. Not all make it out." I thought we burned the map. We were free." "Were you?" she asked. "Did all of you come back?" Jason's blood went cold. Outside, he counted. Zane, Monica, Riley, Brooke. "Wait. Brooke," he yelled. She wasn't there. None of them had noticed. Back in the car, Jason shouted, "Where's Brooke?" Everyone looked around. I thought she was sleeping," Monica said, panic rising. Zane threw the car in reverse, tires squealing. Back on the road, Jason opened his window and shouted, "Brooke!" But the road stretched empty in both directions. Then the radio hissed. Again. Not static. Voices. Faint at first, then clearer. "She's still there. She never left." Jason turned the dial, trying to shut it off. Suddenly, Brooke's voice. "Why didn't you wait for me?" The air grew cold. Too cold. Their breath misted in the summer heat. The SUV headlights flickered, and then she was standing in the middle of the road. Her eyes were all black, smiling. Jason screamed. Zane swerved to avoid hitting her, and the car spun off the road. Crash. Everything went dark. When Jason opened his eyes, it was night. Again. The sky above was wrong. Too many stars, and none he recognized. The others groaned, slowly waking up. Brooke sat in the driver's seat, smiling. "Where are we?" Riley asked, his voice shaking. Brooke answered, but it wasn't her voice. It was layered. Hundreds of voices overlapping in one. Back at mile 1, they looked outside. Same bent trees, same narrow road, same sign. No return past mile 9. Jason grabbed the map from his pocket. Except it wasn't burnt. It was whole. The red X had moved. Now it marked mile 1. Zane whispered, "It's starting over." Brooke turned to face them. "Who's ready for another trip?" The moment they looked back at the road, the air thickened. Everything around them seemed distorted, like they were stuck in a painting. The trees didn't sway. They bent, as if frozen mid-movement. The sky was now a dull orange, as if caught in a constant, never-ending sunset. Brooke, no, it in Brooke's body, laughed. The sound wasn't hers, it wasn't human. "The journey never ends," it said. Its voice now mixing with others, old and new, as though the land itself was speaking. Jason felt his breath catch. He couldn't think. The world was turning against them, unraveling like a fraying thread. They weren't meant to be here. "We have to get out," Monica whispered, backing away from Brooke. Slowly. But Zane shook his head. "There's nowhere to go." "I don't care. We're not staying here," Riley said. He stopped, eyes wide in terror. The road. It was changing. The dirt beneath their feet began to shift and swirl, as if the very foundation of the world was unhinged. The ground buckled. The air cracked open. And through that tear, something moved. A shape, a towering figure, too tall, its limbs like thin, twisted branches. A shadow from a nightmare pulsing with an unnatural glow. It stepped forward, its feet lifting from the ground with an eerie silence, not making a sound, just growing closer with each blink of their eyes. Jason froze. "Move!" Zane shouted, grabbing Monica's arm. They ran, but the thing, the shape, moved faster. Its limbs stretched like elastic, too long, reaching for them. Fingers twisted and uncoiled, the air around them thick with dread. Behind them, Brooke, it smiled wider, impossibly wide. "Run. You can't escape the road." They didn't stop. They ran down the road, the earth shaking beneath their feet, the trees looming above like dark, silent watchers. Every step was a battle against the pull of the land itself, a land that didn't want them to leave. The road was alive. Zane screamed, "Look, the car!" It was ahead of them, but the SUV was different now. Not the same SUV. It was a wreck. The windows cracked, the doors smashed open, and the wheels were flat. No engine, just an empty, decaying shell. Jason could feel something in the air. Something was changing. They stopped, panting, staring at the wreck. And that's when the whispers started. Low at first, then louder, incomprehensible. But still. Human. Turn around. Turn back. Monica clutched her head. It's not real. This isn't real. But it was. It had to be real. The whispers grew louder. You can't run. You're already here. Zane turned, desperately searching for any way out. The air was thick, suffocating. The thing that had been chasing them stood in front of the wrecked SUV, its towering form blocking their path. Why? Didn't you listen? It was standing still, motionless. And then it spoke again. You're part of it now, forever. Jason spun around and saw Brooke, again, standing in front of them, blocking their escape. Her form was distorted, shifting, like a mirage made of fear. Her eyes were still empty black voids, and her smile had spread unnaturally wide. We can't leave, she said in that same layered voice. The road decides who stays and who doesn't. Monica screamed, No, let us go. But the sky above her darkened. The road beneath them pulsed, like the heart of something ancient, beating slow and steady. And in the distance, the first of the signs appeared, Mile 1 right behind them. Jason stared at the Mile 1 sign behind them. No, he whispered. We've been running forward. How is it? Behind us. Riley dropped to his knees, hands in his hair. This road doesn't follow logic, it folds. Monica trembled. Then what now? We wait to die? No, Jason said. We end it. He pulled the map from his pocket. The red X had vanished. In its place, scrawled in fresh ink, Burn what you carry. He looked at the others. It was never the map. It's us. Zane blinked. What are you saying? Jason stood tall. We're carrying it. The fear, the guilt, the memory of the road. That's what keeps us here. The thing in Brooke's skin stepped closer. You'll never be free. You came looking for something. Now you've found it. What did we come looking for? Monica shouted. Brooke tilted her head. Truth. The road cracked beneath their feet. Light bled upward, red and molten. Veins of fire splitting through the ground like a heartbeat. Throw it in, Jason said. Throw what? Riley asked. Jason looked at him. Everything. Pictures, phones, IDs. Anything that ties you to the road, to what happened. Zane hesitated, but then opened his backpack. One by one, they threw everything in. Photos, wallets, phones, memories. Monica clutched a bracelet Brooke had given her once. Tears welled in her eyes. She was my best friend. She's gone, Jason said, voice breaking. That thing isn't her. She dropped the bracelet into the flames. The road screamed. The very trees trembled, shedding black leaves that turned to ash before hitting the ground. Brooke's form flickered, then vanished in a burst of dark smoke. The towering figure let out a soundless roar and dissolved into shadow, sucked into the molten cracks beneath them. The road began to collapse. Jason grabbed Monica's hand. Run! They ran. The mile markers exploded behind them. Mile 2, Mile 3, erased in fire and light. They burst through the edge of the forest just as the sun rose on the horizon. Grass, real air, birds chirping. They were out. They collapsed, gasping, staring back. But there was nothing behind them. No trees, no road, just empty plains. Zane laughed, a mad sound. We made it. Riley wiped his face. We lost Brooke. Jason looked down at his hand. The map was gone, just ashes in the wind. 3 days later, Jason sat alone in his room. The TV buzzed softly in the background. A local news report mentioned a hiker disappearing off Farm Road 1470. Jason turned it off. Outside, a car passed, and for just a second, He saw Brooks' reflection in the mirror, smiling. Mile marker 187. 3 friends, 1 highway, and a mistake they couldn't undo. It started with a flat tire on Highway 59, somewhere in Nevada's endless desert. No signal, no passing cars, just the heat shimmering off the asphalt. Jake, Tori, and Lennox were heading to a music festival in California. They joked about it at first. "Bet this place is haunted," Tori said, sipping warm soda. Then Jake saw it. A rusted road sign just off the shoulder. Mile 187. Except that mile marker didn't match their GPS location. They should have been near mile 163. Jake crossed the dry brush to check it out. That's when they heard the hum. Not a car engine, not a phone. Something low and deep, vibrating through the ground. Then came the dust cloud. A car was approaching, old, black, windows tinted pitch dark. It slowed, stopped. No one got out. But the back door opened. Slowly. No one spoke. Tori whispered, "Don't." But Lennox stepped forward and got in. The door shut. The car peeled off down the highway, and in seconds, it vanished in the heat. Jake and Tori screamed after it, ran. Nothing, only tire tracks that stopped halfway, like the car had disappeared. They waited. Hours. Night fell. Still no Lennox. Then the radio in their dead car flickered on. Static. Then a voice. "Passenger acquired. Room for 1 more." Jake smashed the radio, but the hum returned. The black car again. This time it didn't slow. It passed them, and in the windows Jake saw faces, dozens of them, pressed against the glass, mouths open, but no sound. One looked like Lennox. They ran, no idea where. Found a diner glowing dimly at the edge of the desert. Desert Bell Cafe. They stumbled in, no staff. Just a jukebox playing 50s rock and red leather booths coated in dust. A bell rang behind the counter, and an old woman appeared, smiling. Too wide. "Sit wherever you like, dears." Jake asked if she had a phone. "No phones here. You've passed the mile." "What mile?" "Mile 187. You don't come back from that." They ran again, back to the road, and now it was different, twisted, looping. The GPS spun in circles. Jake saw another sign, mile 187 again, and again, and again. Then, the black car appeared behind them, chasing. They drove. Fast. But no matter how fast, they were never faster than the hum. Then Tori vanished. One blink. She was gone. The rearview mirror showed her still sitting, smiling, mouth moving without words. Jake crashed the car, woke up alone, dust in his lungs, desert quiet. No sign of the car, no friends, only the hum. And a single new mile marker beside him, mile 188. He had moved 1 forward, and the voice whispered in the wind, "Welcome, driver." To this day, Nevada State Patrol warns travelers about Highway 59. They say if your GPS glitches and you see a rusted sign reading mile 187, don't stop, don't look, and for God's sake, don't get in. Exit 47. The road stretched endless ahead of them, flat, dark, and empty. Kayla, Marco, and Jenna were driving cross-country from Colorado to California. It was supposed to be a graduation adventure, one last hurrah before adulthood began. But somewhere past Utah, things started going wrong. It began with the GPS glitching. They were supposed to be on Route 70, but suddenly the screen said, "Recalculating, now entering exit 47." Only, there was no exit, just a narrow side road they didn't remember passing. Marco at the wheel frowned. "You guys ever hear of Red Pine Road?" They hadn't, but the GPS insisted. Faster route found. The road led into dense woods, the kind that seemed untouched by time. No cell service, no lights, just forest on both sides. Then they passed the first sign, "Welcome to Crow Hill." There was no town on the map, and no other cars. That night, they found a small roadside motel, Pine Rest Inn, no staff, just a bell and a key with room number 3 on it. Kayla rang the bell. No answer. The key was warm. Inside the room, everything was old, not rustic, ancient. The TV played static. The walls were covered in strange symbols. Jenna wanted to leave, too late. The car wouldn't start. And outside, the woods had gotten closer, as if the trees moved during the night. That's when they heard the scratching from under the bed. Marco looked. There was a second key. Room 6. They hadn't seen a room 6. Curious and scared, they checked the hallway. Room 6 wasn't numbered, but the door was cracked open. Inside, a mirror, floor to ceiling, black framed. And in the reflection, all 3 of them could see a 4th person, tall, wearing a deer skull, standing behind them. They turned. No one there. When they looked back at the mirror, the reflection smiled. That night, Jenna went missing. No sound. No struggle. Just gone. But her reflection remained, still standing with them. The next morning, the woods were even closer, touching the motel now. The sign outside changed, no longer Pine Rest Inn. Now it said, "You are home." Kayla and Marco tried running, through the woods, no paths, no roads, only tree after tree, and voices, calling their names, in Jenna's voice, in their own voices. They finally stumbled onto the road again. Their car was back, working. They drove for hours. But no matter which way they turned, every exit sign read, "Exit 47, Crow Hill." They were trapped. 6 months later, a state trooper found an abandoned car on a forgotten forest road. Plates traced to Colorado students. No bodies, just a cracked mirror in the back seat. And when he looked inside it, he swears he saw 3 people smiling back.